Hi, this is Kate Hill with Kate Hill Company. We are talking about rolling out a one-to-one program in schools throughout America. The topic for today is program design and financing, and I will discuss different options for that. So, some of the topics that you need to decide when you're talking about financing, of course, it's a big topic. You not only have infrastructure costs, but also front-end costs, which are the actual device. What device is going to be used and how is that going to be financed? So the first thing that you need to make some high-level decisions. Is this going to be mandatory or is it going to be optional? So the first thing you need to talk about is, for your students, are you going with a mandatory one-to-one program where every student has to participate in it? Or is this going to be an optional program where it just augments what you're currently doing at your school? So maybe you have computer labs and you want to open the option up for students to bring their own device if they want to, and if they could want to take notes, or if there's some interactive curriculum they could take advantage of. With most of the schools that I have assisted with the rollouts, they decide it's mandatory, because if you only have half of the students doing it, or a certain percentage of the students doing it, it's not going to be as integrated as you would like. So teachers will not be able to create lesson plans around the use of that technology, so they'll constantly be creating different rules for different students. So my recommendation is to go with a mandatory one-to-one program. So you can also, the next topic to consider is one grade versus all school. So one of the things that's tempting is when you're rolling it out, especially due to financing, is maybe you start with just one grade, and maybe it's just when the freshmen come in, they get a laptop or a tablet, and then the rest of the school does not have one. And that marches up through the grades. As it rolls out, then one class will graduate out, and then the incoming freshmen get a device. The only problem with this is a lot of high schools actually teach to more than one level at a time. So if you have a sophomore class that freshmen can join into, if they're kind of like an honors program, then you're teaching to some students who have one-to-one and some students who do not. Or for the freshmen that is using a laptop and the sophomores aren't, then they find that class is a little bit less engaging, because they're used to having the technology woven in and out of the curriculum of the rest of their classes. So if you can, it is wise to make a decision to do the whole school at once. Although it's a huge undertaking, I can offer tips at the end of this for how to roll out to an entire community at one time, how to keep track of those devices, how to make sure that you don't have loss or theft as many devices are being rolled out. The next choice that you need to decide is, what's your hardware choice? Is that going to be a tablet? Is it going to be a laptop? If it's a tablet, are you going to go Android? Are you going to go iPad? Or are you going to skip the hard drive altogether and go with some kind of a Chromebook? So Google makes a Chromebook, but also other hardware choices are available to have a Chromebook interactive device. So you're going to want to get together with the decision makers and figure that out before you decide your timeline, because based on what the decision is, it's going to affect your financing, your rollout schedule, and the apps and curriculum that the teachers build. The next decision would be own versus lease. So there's an option there that the school can own the devices and lend them to the students. Another option is for the school to lease them and then turn around and lease them to the students, or include them as part of their tuition, or just being part of the school, being enrolled as a student. Or the last option is there's two more actually. The other option is to make a approved products list where there's one or two devices that the students are responsible for going out and purchasing on their own, and then they bring those to school. Now, I don't recommend that, because the school has no say-so in what's loaded on those devices. There's very little control there, and even less control with the last option, which is bring your own device. So you don't even tell them what operating system it has to be. You just say, bring a device to school. Now, you're kind of opening yourself up for problems on your network, plus the real big downside of bring your own device is that the teachers then become technical support. So if they create a lesson plan that says you need to go to this website, it might not work on an Android or an iPad, and then the teacher has to kind of troubleshoot on the spot why that's not happening, or stop the lesson plan and ask them to team up with a partner. So really, the more control you can have, the better. If you're in a position where you can either own the devices as a school and give them to the students as a terms of enrollment, or if you can lease them and then pass the lease payments on to the students, that's where you're going to give yourself the most chance for success with your one-to-one program. Now, the last thing that needs to be considered is, what's your budgeting method? So if you're fortunate enough to be in a school that has the funds to do this, that is of course the best. But if not, you're going to want to lay out exactly what needs to be done. So you talk to your IT about infrastructure, you talk to your administration about the device choice and let them decide on the specific goals you want to obtain and which device is going to get you there the best. You're going to want to figure out what training you need, both for the teachers and for the students, to get them to the point where they can use these devices. And then you also want to consider what the reoccurring costs are. What costs are going to happen year after year? Of course, if it's a lease, you're going to have yearly costs. But also, if you do something like a subscription to Microsoft Office, that will most likely be a yearly cost that your school will incur. So you need to lay out those 4 different types of costs. That's infrastructure, machines, training, and recurring costs. And then you're going to want to map those out so that they're in sizable chunks that your school can handle. If your school does not have the financing to do all 4 of those things in 1 year, you might need to map that out into 2 or 3 years. So I hope this has been helpful. Please navigate to my website and check out my resources there, Kate Hill Co. You'll find the link right here. Kate Hill Co. There's resources for you to use in your school, and I hope that they find them helpful and make you a hero as you migrate to a one-to-one program of your own. Thank you.